It's time for us to get our hacker skills going in Advanced Persistent Threat. Here, your objective is to get servers on your network in front of you. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you an overview of what this cool little game is about. So sit down and let's just have a look at this. At the start of the game, each player should choose one adversary card, meaning these ones with the white background. Once each player have taken one card, the rest of the cards goes back into the box. The adversary card is placed face up to the left of your player area, and underneath it you have a reference card. Now each player also get one stagging server card plus one small DDoS card. Now again, this is placed in front of you, creating your network space. Next, each player gets 5 cards on their hand. Now, this deck here in the center of the table should of course be shuffled before we deal out these 5 cards. Now that we have the 5 cards on our hand, well, we're actually ready to start playing. We have started to create our little network space here in front of us. We have the deck ready, we have a discard spot, and we have 5 cards on our hands. Now, before we look at the actual gameplay, I think we should take a look at the cards and what they actually mean. There are 6 different types of cards in this game. And man, would you look at that artwork. They are just so beautiful. But let's look at them. The first one we're going to look at is a production server. Now, each production server stays in a player's network until it is deleted, uninstalled, stolen, or moved. And these have a special effect that you can see down here whenever they enter a player's network. And next we have a stagging server. Now, these servers do not have any special effects in themselves, but they are quite important, which I will tell you more about in a bit. Then we have softwares. Now, softwares will give you positive effect when you install them into your network. And we have malware. We all love these fellows, right? Now, these have a little biohazard icon, and that's because, well, they're no good. Because if you get these into your network, you will have a negative effect. But you can also install them into other players' networks in the future. Then we have the exploit card here with the little bomb icon. These cards are single use, and once you have played them, you must move them to the discard pile. And then we have the O-Day cards, or 0 days. Now, these cards here are the only type of cards that you can play at any time, even when another player is playing a card. Each player can play as many O-Day cards as they want to, whenever they want to, meaning that these can be played back to back. The starting player will be chosen by a fist fight, or simply just getting along and saying, hey, I want to be the first player, and then that person is the first player. Whatever fits you, man. But once you have chosen a first player, well, that player will play through 4 different steps. Once they have done that, the turn will go on to the player on their left, and so on. But what do we actually do during our turn? Well, the first step during a player's turn is to play any at the beginning of your turn cards. There are a few cards in this game that has the meaning, if this card is in your network at the beginning of your turn, well, then you get to do whatever the card says. And this means that if you have one of these cards in your network, well, then you can play them now. And that's the first step. Quite simple, right? I mean, if you do not have any of these cards, then you can't do it and just simply skip it. The second step during a player's turn is to draw one card from the draw deck to your hand. Again, quite simple. And the first step would be to play a card from your hand to your network. Now, you can choose to play a server, software, malware, or exploit card. Just remember that the exploit card goes straight to the discard pile, because they were a one-time use. But the other ones goes into your network, and they will have some type of effect. Now, this effect needs to be read out aloud, so all players around the table know what the hell you're doing. But instead of playing a card, you can also choose to draw a card from the draw deck. But if you choose to draw a card, you cannot play a card as well. You can only do one thing. And the fourth step of your turn is to discard cards from your hand. If you have more cards than 7. If you have less than 7, or if you have 7, well, then you do not need to discard any cards. But if you have more, well, then you would need to get rid of a card now. Just be aware, because some cards will actually increase your hand size. Like this card here, for example, that will increase your hand limit by 3. And that's a player's turn. Quite easy, right? Well, yes. And no, because the game itself is quite advanced once you start reading the cards. Now, there are quite a lot of things that you can do in your own network, but also to other players' network. You can, for example, plant malware into the other player's network, which will mess up quite a lot because they are a pain. But you can also move cards from their network to your own network or to another player's network. Plus, you can delete cards from their network. So they might have built up this whole cool network in front of them, and bam, you come right in there with malware, and then you delete a card, and you mess up their plans quite a lot. So the goal of this game is to get 6 servers into your network. If you manage to get 6 servers, well, then you win the game. And you can actually also make the game a little bit longer if you want to by adding 7 servers, or shorter by simply adding 5 servers. Now, whoever managed to get that goal first becomes the ultimate hacker. Advanced Persistent Threat is quite a nice little card game. I mean, you get into it quite fast. But it is quite hard to master because there's so many different things you can do by playing the different cards. A game can take quite fast, or it can last quite long. It's all depending on how good you are using the different abilities, how good your fellow players are, and how many times you've played the game. Plus, the artwork on the cards are really nice. They really give you this cyberpunk, futuristic hacker feel to it. And also, some of the server cards have little quotes from hacker movies. I mean, they don't have any effect, but there's still a little bit of lore in this pretty cool little game. There you have it, my friend. That was Advanced Persistent Threat. A neat, nice little game. I quite enjoyed this a lot. I mean, the way you exchange cards with your fellow players, even if they don't want the card most of the time, but also the way you try to block out the players and build up your network, getting your servers, trying to block out malware, get them away from there, move cards around. I think it was just nice. It's a nice little area control game, but also a lot of interaction with the other players. I really did enjoy it. If you want to know more about the game, well, check out the links down in the description and it will take you straight to them. Now, if you liked the video, my friend, please give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, share the video to a friend or your grandma. Who knows, she might like it. But most importantly, please remember to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out, my friend.